Back during E3 2019, just before Nintendo held their digital event, I waited in the Los Angeles Convention Center. I was just outside the show floor doors. While I waited there, some members of a popular Japanese station, known as TV Tokyo, were hanging out. They went around and asked others what character they thought would be unveiled in Nintendo's presentation as the next downloadable fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. At the time, the two most popular answers were Erdrick from Dragon Quest and Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie. Sure enough, we wound up getting both characters.
The hero! What a name!
Oh man!
What a freaking name!
Yeah! Nice! Oh! That's it. That's their Smash part.
Well, they got that.
Yep. What's happening? Why? Are we in an alternate timeline? Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah! Banjo! 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 Now that both of these characters are currently available as playable fighters in Smash Ultimate, I decided to go ahead and try out each of them. At this point in time, Nintendo has released 3 characters as part of their 5-character Challenger DLC pack. And although they've announced that even more characters are currently in development, I wanted to go ahead and analyze the fighters that they've released so far. Those fighters would be Joker, Hero, and Banjo. And yes, I know that Piranha Plant was released as a downloadable fighter too, so I'll discuss him for a sentence or two. And yes, I know I've already done a video on Joker, but at the time of that video, everybody was playing as Joker. You'd be hard-pressed to go online and not play Joker dittos. But now that the dust has settled a bit, I can now better understand how he could, and probably should, be played. And so, for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and provide a more thorough analysis on each fighter. Let's talk DLC. Humans, I'm Yoshiller, and welcome back to another episode of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Road to Sakurai! You know, before Nintendo announced any of the characters in their DLC pack, I thought the characters would consist of lesser-known Nintendo fighters. Maybe like the Chorus Kid from Rhythm Heaven, and maybe we'd get a third-party character along the lines of like Gino from Super Mario RPG, or even Professor Layton. But then I saw that Joker was the first character, and that's when I realized, oh, the floodgates are open. And it's even crazier to think that it wasn't even the game's director, Masahiro Sakurai, who picked out these 5 characters. The higher-ups at Nintendo decided these 5 characters. And these characters, so far at least, have been a combination of Nintendo throwing the fans a bone, throwing Masahiro Sakurai a bone, and overall just giving this vibe that says, hey, wouldn't this be cool? Nintendo was like, alright Sakurai, we'll handle the negotiations, you can do whatever you want. You want to promote Banjo on Xbox? Go for it. And one of the reasons that I want to meet Sakurai so much is because you can tell that he's realized how big his game has gotten. And he knows his audience, and he knows how to have fun with it all. You just gotta respect the guy. And I mean, at this point, who wouldn't want their characters in Smash? But even though every developer would want his or her character to earn an acclaimed spot in the Smash Bros. Roster, I imagine that there's still a ton of finance-related stuff that happens in the background every time a new fighter is added. And on top of that, I imagine that some third-party companies are pretty picky with the way that they'd want their characters to be represented. For example, I know that the Pokemon Company can often be strict in the ways that Pikachu is represented. I mean, there's a reason that there's no Pikachu costume in Yoshi's Woolly World, and there's a reason that all of Pikachu's costumes are hats instead of color changes. And I know that Square Enix is pretty infamous when it comes to how they handle some of their IPs. I imagine that the licensing for many of these characters is super expensive as well, and working with some of these companies can probably be really frustrating. So one of the most common questions I can imagine the Smash team asking is this all worth it? Will people play as these characters? Is it worth putting down the investment and time and money? And from my perspective at least, this all seems like it is worth it. Smash Ultimate is making history with each character reveal, and although some companies may be stingy with the way that they want their characters portrayed, in the grand scheme of things, that stinginess is often the result as to why some characters look and play the way they do. And so far, that appears to be a good thing. So why am I bringing all of this up? Well, I bring it up because I imagine that all of this information has to do with when the characters are released. And when the characters are released determines how often people will play as a character, and as such, it determines how much time I have to analyze a character before the next one comes out. And eventually, there won't be any more new characters. And I want to play the game while the game is fresh. And every time a new character is released, the game gets shaken up a bit. And I want to be able to play in those shaken up bits as much as possible. So based on which characters are added, I can usually guess how long it'll take to implement a character. For example, I imagine that implementing the hero in Smash Ultimate was probably a tedious task for the development team. New voice actors were required, 4 individual characters were technically represented, so that means 4 different models, and the licensing for Dragon Quest as a whole couldn't have been cheap. I'd be willing to bet that the hero may have initially been planned to be released in June, maybe even during the same week as E3. However, Square Enix probably had a ton of notes when working with Nintendo, and the team was probably focused more on making sure that Square Enix was happy first and foremost. But once Square Enix was happy, Hero could finally come out. And so I imagine that by the time all the notes are implemented and everything was correct, it just took longer and longer to develop the character. And that's why he came out at the end of July. But then I can also assume that Banjo's license holder, Rareware, was much more lax when working with Nintendo. And I think that's why the gap between him and Hero was much shorter than Joker and Hero. And that probably all just comes down to how the companies want their characters to be presented. Now, in terms of what this has to do with Smash, that means that Hero only had about a month to take over the metagame. But rather impressively, during that time, many players exclaimed that he should be banned due to the fact that he's a character that relies on luck. Now, in the grand scheme of things, Banjo has been released and Hero's alleged reign has been pushed to the side, and Banjo will likely be the spotlight character until the next DLC fighter, Terry Bogard, is released. So the reign of Hero was short-lived, and now we're in the era of Banjo. And then we'll have the era of Terry and the era of DLC Character 5, and so on and so forth. Right now, Banjo's the one in the spotlight. Well, him and Sans. That Sans Me costume is showing up everywhere these days. But each DLC fighter has made an attempt to try and shake up the competitive metagame, and that's good. If this keeps up, the Smash competitive scene will constantly be seeing fresh matchups and new scenarios. Things are never going to quite settle until all the characters are officially released. Well, let's quickly discuss how each of the currently released characters have impacted the overall metagame thus far. Whenever a new character is released, that character is the new hotness. Everyone's talking about the new character. And of course, I have my own fair share of experiences with these new characters as well. When Joker was first released, I was immediately able to participate in a tourney where he was playable. Joker is a more speedy, combo-based character, which lends well to more competitive play. More professional players love to chase their opponents and rack up their percentages, and Joker is an ace at that. And I can't discuss Joker's position in the metagame without discussing the fact that the champion of EVO 2019, MKLeo, won the tournament with Joker. He made a comeback and ultimately reigned supreme. So it wouldn't be overselling it to say that Joker's a pretty top-tier character. And while Joker can be a difficult character to fight at times, he's certainly beatable. He doesn't feel unfair. He fits right in with any other fighter in the game. His attacks can be stopped with proper timing, there are ways to somewhat exploit his weaknesses, and it takes true knowledge and performance to properly play him to his full potential. You can't just run in and mash buttons. Well, speaking of running in and mashing buttons, that brings us to our next character, Hero. Many players think that Hero ruins the game. They believe that he takes no skill and that he's completely luck-based. And ignoring the counter-argument that characters like Peach and Mr. Game & Watch have luck-based elements too, I'd like to throw in the argument that a character that relies on luck cannot have that great of a ranking overall unless some high amount of skill is involved anyway. That is the fun of implementing luck. Can Hero players get lucky and somehow just win by mashing buttons? Yeah, I'm sure that's happened, but will Hero always win like that? No way. Skill will be involved in order for Hero to consistently win. And so far, I haven't seen Hero win any major tournaments. Hero players will pop up here and there, but even now, I think players are still trying to figure out how he works. And I've played against my fair share of Hero players, and sure, I've had some nonsensical, unfortunate stuff happen to me. But even when I lose, I still acknowledge that I made my own mistakes, and that the Hero player made better plays than me. Now, on the first week when Hero was released, he was insanely popular, and people were spamming his attacks like his MP bar was unlimited. But now that he's been out for a month, his popularity has plummeted. And yeah, I imagine that most of that has to do with the fact that Banjo is out too, but even so, people are still playing as Joker. You still see some Piranha plants pop up, but Hero, I don't think he has the same longevity. Therefore, I don't think that Hero will drastically change up the metagame. At least, not yet. And then we have Banjo. Or rather, he's officially dubbed as a duo character, Banjo and Kazooie, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna refer to him as Banjo. Nothing personal, Kazooie, and so far, yeah, Banjo's actually pretty decent. Yeah, some people have called him a worse Snake, some people have called him a mini Donkey Kong, and some people have called him an all-in-one Pokemon trainer, but worse. But I think that Banjo holds the potential to be a high-ranking and popular character in the metagame. At the time of this video, he's only been out for about 2 weeks, so I acknowledge that the results are too soon to tell. But still, he's got game. He's got some defensive options, his recovery isn't so bad, although it probably is his most exploitable feature, and each of his attacks serves a purpose, which works well when leading to mix-ups. I can say similar things about Joker, and hey, Joker turned out to be a pretty high-ranking character too. So in terms of competitive impact, I'd say that Nintendo has done well so far creating a cast of characters that have mixed things up. I'm sure we'll see plenty more Jokers, Heroes, and Banjos in these tourneys, and when the future DLC characters are released, I'm sure we'll see plenty of them too. We'll see plenty of Terrys and whoever that 5th character is, Gino maybe? But now that I've had my fair share of experience playing against each character, let me tell you what I think about playing as each character. There was a brief moment in time, a very brief moment in time, where Piranha Plant was not released yet, and I considered making him my 4th main character alongside Yoshi, Ice Climbers, and Little Mac. But that's not gonna happen. I think it's funny that this plant is in the game, and I'm glad that the Smash team was able to develop a character that wasn't a request by fans. With that said, I don't really enjoy playing as Piranha Plant too much. I admit that I prefer playing as pretty specific characters, and I've discussed in the past that I enjoy playing as characters with a specific type of flow. Piranha Plant's flow is kinda clunky. I won't be maining this plant, but hey, I'm glad this potted fighter is in the game. Joker is a slick fighter that can best be categorized as a speedy, technical fighter. When I first played as him, I enjoyed how he played, and I even considered making him my 4th main character. But now that he's been out for some time, how can I put this? I really do enjoy how he plays, but I'm realizing that he doesn't quite fit my style. He does have the flow that I enjoy in a fighter, and he does have a combination of moves that can each serve a purpose offensively and defensively, but after playing him for a bit, I've come to the conclusion that he's just not for me. I think what really distances me is that, of all things, I just don't enjoy his neutral game. I don't enjoy using his jabs. I love his aerial moves, and his special moves are fun to use too. I think that's something I realized when I play as Yoshi, Ice Climbers, and Little Mac, is that I enjoy using their jabs a lot. I use them to get my opponents off me, I use them to combo into other moves, and I can even use them to break shields of my opponents. Joker's jabs can do all of that, but I think they're a little too strong for my liking. It's a weird complaint for me, I know, and I don't even know if this is necessarily the complaint, but Joker's jabs just feel off to me. I will not be maining Joker, sorry. Hero's an interesting one. Let me say this up front, 8 is the best looking hero. He just seems nice. But aside from appearance, I don't think I really have any real reason to main Hero. However, he might just be the funniest character in the game. The amount of insanity that this character has caused already is nothing short of hilarious. I might play as Hero from time to time in some friendly matches, if not for the sole purpose of attempting to perform some nonsense, but otherwise, Hero's not for me. His sort of technical defensive playstyle is almost the exact opposite of how I traditionally play. When I was thinking of characters that could show up in this Fighter's Pass, I definitely wanted Banjo to be a playable fighter in this game. And I'm glad he's finally here. When I saw his reveal trailer, I thought to myself, hey cool, he's here, what a funny trailer. I probably won't main him, but I'm glad he's here. And sure enough, of the DLC fighters, he's actually the character I enjoy using the most. I first played as Banjo at a local tourney known as Wednesday Night Fights. I've gone to Wednesday Night Fights a few times now, and while my results have never really been that great, I do feel like it's important for me to keep attending this event so I can keep improving. Well, the most recent Wednesday Night Fights tourney that I attended took place on the same day that Banjo was released. Therefore, Banjo was playable, and I thought it'd be fun to try and compete with Banjo without practicing him beforehand. No going into training mode, no fighting a CPU, nothing. To start a competitive tourney match as Banjo with everything to lose. Of course, plenty of other competitors were trying out Banjo on that night too. So, I wanted to document my experiences playing as Banjo for the first time so people wouldn't judge me so quickly. I was fortunate enough to play on the tourney's live stream, and I got to play against a Hero player no less. And while I fumbled a bit and made plenty of foolish mistakes, I was able to win the set thanks to sticking to basic fundamentals and quick improvisation. I like to think that I was able to quickly adapt to playing as Banjo, and even had I lost a game or even the entire set, I think that I still would have enjoyed my first time playing as Banjo. I do want to add that my opponent on stream was a good sport. He didn't have to play as hero, but he did so for fun. And to me, that's really cool. Anyway, later on in the tourney, I wound up switching back to Yoshi and I got my butt whooped. And I still question if I could have held my ground had I just stuck to Banjo. Maybe my only advantage would have been the fact that my opponents would be unused to the matchup, but still, Banjo holds some things that I've been looking for when considering a fourth main character. Yoshi, Ice Climbers, and Little Mac all have recoveries that can be okay, but all it takes is one small touch to completely ruin them. It's for these reasons that I also decided I wouldn't main Richter, who was going to be my fourth main fighter for a while, but I didn't want to have 4 main characters who all had poor recoveries. I decided that if I were to main a fourth fighter, the character would need to have a better recovery than my other fighters. And I'd say that Banjo has that. But otherwise, Banjo's a lot more fun to play than I thought he'd be. I thought he'd play more like a power character, you know, something more along the lines of Donkey Kong or Bowser. But no, he's more of an all-around fighter. What I mean is, he's a straightforward character. It didn't take me that long to learn him, and I'm pretty stupid. His aerials are all good get-off-me options. His throws can either bury his opponents or be used to flat-out KO them. Banjo's specials allow him to play defensively, and all of Banjo's other attacks have a nice flow to them. I like him. And even when I saw Banjo's trailer, I wasn't even considering maining him. But now, I think it's time for me to say it. I'm gonna try to main Banjo. Oh, I guess there's still one other DLC fighter I should mention. Yeah, okay, Sans is really just a Mii fighter with a mask, but I think it's funny that people are actually treating Sans like he is a fighter. And we got the Megalovania song in the game, that's what people really wanted, right? I'm not gonna main Sans, or a Mii fighter for that matter, but I do have a Sans Mii for special occasions. If a Sans mask is what it takes for competitors to take the Miis more seriously, then so be it. Here's hoping that this bear and bird combo helps me get closer to one day meeting Masahiro Sakurai. I'm gonna give him a chance. I'm gonna try to play a few tourneys as him, and based on those results, I'll make him a permanent member of... Team Yoshiller. Now, there are still more fighters to be released in this game, and I might like how future fighters play too, but I don't think attempting to play as more than 4 characters is a good idea. Many would even say that playing as more than 1 or 2 characters is a bad idea, so that's why I'm limiting myself to 4, because even 4 is a bit much. If I wind up enjoying a character in the future even more than Banjo, or even more than one of my other mains, then I will drop one of my current 4 characters in exchange for a new one. But for the time being, Banjo has joined the team. Welcome aboard, Banjo and Kazooie. I just have to make sure that I can take on whatever challenge comes my way, as I attempt to one day meet Masahiro Sakurai. Here's hoping that the game's DLC works more for me instead of against me. And here's hoping that Banjo and Kazooie can help me get to my goal. So for now, that wraps up this episode of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Road to Sakurai. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope to see you all in future videos, and I hope to report back with more positive results. Bye-bye, humans.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed what you saw and want to see more, be sure to click the subscribe icon underneath the video. Be sure to click on the bell icon to be notified when a new video is out. Also, one of the best ways to support me is to follow me on Twitter. On there, you can see announcements, updates, and previews for all of my upcoming content. My tag is @Yoshiller. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all in future videos. Whoosh!